Elizabeth Moore is with us this morning. She is the CEO of the commercial carpet provider B Carpet. Elizabeth, it's great to have you back on this program.
It's great to be here.
Now, you recently announced a really interesting and new 8-color process called Octacia.
Octacia.
I want to talk about that, but I want to ask first, maybe just give us a profile of B Carpet so everybody listening is really on the same page. Tell us about the company.
Well, we started as Burtco Enterprises in 1979, so we've been around almost 35 years. And our expertise has evolved from graphics carpet. We were early in pattern commercial goods, and so we've evolved into a hospitality specialized custom mill. And we're very invested in the CYP technology, which we call Tapistron. We decided to bring back the original name because, first of all, it's just a great word, and second of all, it returns the conversation to the fact that this is so important to us. We co-own the patents with the CYP Technologies, who actually manufacture the equipment. So no one's more invested than we are. Not any of the big mills, not small mills. No one is more invested than we are in CYP or Tapistron technology.
I'm old enough to remember the name, Tapistron. Talk about that technology. Why is that different?
The machinery is it's something that can compete with woven. If you want solution dyed patterns that are not printed, but where the pattern is created by the placement of the yarn, this is an ideal technology. We actually will do wool, which of course has to be skein dyed, and we're one of only 2 CYP manufacturers that I know of that will even touch wool. So we have enough machinery that we can dedicate one of our machines just to be set up for that. And the technology is it's not a fast machine. A lot of people are impatient with it when they see how slow it runs. It doesn't always fit into the business models of larger mills, but it does not put a lot of yarn on the back of the carpet. So what we've found is that it's less resource intensive, less wasteful. There are some technologies out there that can provide a similar look, but they don't have quite the same. They don't have the same ability to put all the yarn that you're paying for on the face. Further, when you put a backing on it, you're limited to something simple like a latex or an action back type backing. And we can put this in senior living, places where we need to have some moisture resistant barriers, because we don't have all that yarn on the back. Some technology, they actually have to scrape the back. There's so much yarn, there's so many strings from where all the needles have to travel with some of those other technologies. So there's a lot of waste in some of those. And so we think there's a real advantage to using the computerized yarn placement, CYP, which we call Tapistron. We think there's a huge advantage to that in terms of, just being it's a little greener, and it's a little more useful.
The whole green story with Tapistron is a good one. I was never aware of that before.
It is good, and also the fact that does make this work for the senior living and the things that can use that extra backing.
How many Tapistron CYP machines are there out there in the world?
That's a good question. I couldn't answer that, but there are some in Asia, and there are primarily, and I think there are a few around the world. It works real well for a lot of people who are in the rug business. So a lot of times you'll see someone who has hand-knotted rugs, and then they have this technology.
I see. What's been happening in the hospitality arena since the recession?
It's coming back. It sure is. The thing about hospitality is the ick factor. People have to renovate. And these hotels have gone as long as they could. And so now that they're finding funding, it's time. And of course, once one hotel renovates, the one across the street is forced to. So it builds on itself.
So just after a while, if if it starts to look a little seedy, the revenue goes down. You really have no choice.
They have to. You know, if you are walking into your local bank and the carpet looks a little frayed, you can make an assumption, and especially in a recession, well, maybe that's okay because the money this bank is making may go back into interest in my checking account. But if you're going into a hotel room and you're going to spend the night there, you want fresh paint, nice linens, and a clean carpet. You don't look at that as a, well, maybe I can understand. You don't take that attitude the way you might in certain other public spaces.
So has that kept the hospitality sector a little bit healthier than some of the others out there, even during the recession? Just because
perhaps so, but I also think that we were the first to be hit. That was one of the first when people stopped spending on travel or leisure and vacations and things. That actually took one of the first hits, or people didn't go out to eat as often, or people did, so. I think we were the first in the recession and perhaps the first out as people do start spending again.
Now, B Carpet, I understand, is a certified women-owned.
Yes, we've just gotten certified. We're very excited about that.
Tell us about that. Tell us about the certification.
That is something that was actually driven by our customers. Our larger customers, particularly, want to allocate some of their spending in terms of dollar percentages for women, minority businesses. They're trying to differentiate themselves from each other as well. So that's hard to do. So they sometimes market themselves as being socially responsible with how they spend their renovation dollars or their construction spending and things like that. So it's very exciting.
And I suspect, doing business with the government, that's probably an important aspect there.
Oh, it is. It is. In fact, we don't do that much with government. We're not GSA. We do a little bit because of our niche being so unusual that we can do business sometimes with the government without even being GSA simply because we're that off that much of a niche. But I'm thinking this may open up more government. I'm going to find out.
Well, it certainly can't hurt.
That's right.
Talk about, and we're going to talk about pattern goods. And that's what Octacia really is. That's what B Carpet is all about.
That's what we're all about.
What's happening in terms of trends in the hospitality arena as it relates to patterns and colors and those types of things?
Interesting. We see the trends. It's most easy to see trends in terms of color, and they seem to be getting more neon and more crazy, more experimental, more a matter of oranges and pinks and things. In fact, I'll show you this design in a minute. You'll just see a lot more vivid colors.
Usually, I can remember, at least in the past, reading that these more flamboyant colors are a sign of comfort, maybe the economy getting better and so on.
Maybe so.
Do you think there's any truth to that?
I think that could be possible. I think so. They've always said more muted colors, grays and blues, do well in a recession. That may be true. But some people say, oh, but in a time like this, we need color. So sometimes there's a contrarian view to that as well. I really don't know how to comment because when we're as custom as we are, we see a little bit of everything. I mean, we still see very conservative color. We still see, and then we see the crazy stuff too. So we see it all.
Are there places in hospitality, restaurants, public spaces, that just have to have some sort of a big pattern situation?
Yes.
I mean,
yes.
It wouldn't look right if it didn't have that.
Right. I mean, imagine a large ballroom. You don't want to see a tiny little pattern across the whole thing. It just begs for a large, eye-catching, experimental, interesting pattern. I've seen ballrooms that had no repeat all the way across, just one, like a huge canvas.
One big pattern.